Good evening. This is Dharmendra Gordon, and this is Vegan Synergy Meditation meeting number 11 of Vegan World 2026. I am going to start this evening giving just a brief description of what we do here in this meeting, and then we're going to go on a little guided tour, and then we're going to open it up and do the kind of work we do here in Vegan Synergy Meditation. So welcome to all of you here who are here with us now present. That's always the best. Yay, yippee, yahoo! I'm glad everybody's here. And to those who will be watching later, welcome. So it is all about accelerated collective evolution in the world we are living in now in practice. In brief, it is open-eyed and interactive and works with the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious minds through various methods designed to activate, utilize, and develop the powers and capacities latent in each of these minds. The emphasis throughout is finding the still center within and relaxing into one's essential and unconditioned being, and learning to think, speak, and act from that place of deep, lucid, and loving wisdom. The point of each meeting will be unique and will arise as a result of the exponential increase in conscious awareness and intelligence of all those present as the group moves through the 3 levels of consciousness. As a result, the expanded potential of the collective superconsciousness of all those present to discover innovative solutions to any and all of the problems that humanity is facing at this time will be one of the most potent and effective tools in the creative expression of compassion in action. And that is the essence of what we do. And now, if everybody could just take a moment to kind of tune into yourself, tune into your center, and just kind of breathe into that space, and just let yourself be relieved of anything you were occupied with before you entered into this sacred space. And as you settle into yourself, and however you may do that, notice your breathing and possibly your heartbeat. And just allowing the thoughts that are moving through to move through, and any sounds around you, just allow yourself to hear them from a neutral place. And any sensations within your body, just be present wherever they are. Gives your awareness a chance to just kind of relax into your total field of experience. So let's start by tuning into the upper pole, the mental sphere. And tonight, let's just kind of take a little tour of our mind and sort of, and it's okay if you need to use your memory, it's okay to go into the past or into the future. It's also okay to think very high thoughts. It's also okay to think very low thoughts. It's just, let's just take stock of how we use our mind. What is our preferred method of using our mind? Our mind is very good at dividing and analyzing and comparing and orienting things in different ways. And at the beautiful end, it's very good at mathematics, sacred geometry, and seeing how things connect in beautiful ways and how they're all connected and related. So let's just give ourselves a moment to become aware of our attention style through our mind. How do we like to use our mind? Where do we like to go with our mind? What are the things that give us the most pleasure when we use our mind? And on the other side, just for the yin and yang clarity, when do we tend to go into our mind to come up with ways of dividing and separating, and places where we've been conditioned when we were probably too young to really do anything about it, and it's just habits we have. And just being aware of how the mind and its full spectrum of functioning, how we also can use our minds to analyze sometimes when maybe it's just best to just use our heart to synthesize. So just be aware of that. It's just take stock for a moment of how the mind works. It's where most of our shadows lurk are in the way we've been taught to use our mind, because the way we've been taught to use our mind tends to go against who we are in general. Because of, as children growing up, we do so many things that so many people find, and sometimes it's good because it protects us from harming ourselves. But outside of that, there are many other times where elders might feel uncomfortable with our innocence and our spontaneity and our exploratoriness and our inquisitiveness and all the things we do. So just for a moment, let's just take one more moment and acknowledge the mind in all it does for us, and in both the productive ways and also in the ways that we learn, hopefully in meditation or whatever methods we use, prayer, however it works for us, to become more and more aware of when the mind is trying to sabotage us. So we can gently release out of that and kind of drop down into our hearts now, where our focus is more on what we really love about being here on this planet as ourselves, and all the different ways we've found to give of ourselves in that way and of benefit to the world around us. Through what I love to use the word compassion. Whenever I go to the heart, I always think first of compassion. And compassion is always the ability to put yourself in another's shoes and act accordingly. Of course, that's my interpretation, but I found it works quite well to put myself in other shoes and to be in the same space as them, so to speak, to walk a mile in their shoes for a moment and just see how that feels. And if there's a possibility of giving of myself, which is almost inevitable if you actually spend a moment with anybody and you're in your heart, your gifts will come out. It's so natural when you're present. Because as we all know, and I'll just jump back for a moment to give kind of perspective with the mind, it's always everywhere but here most of the time, unless it's just silent, and then attention can be present. The heart is always here. There is nowhere else that the heart can be but here. Only knows one time, which is here and now. And that's the place where your genius can come forth. So really for a moment, let's just take stock of what it is we really love about being here, and what we really love about the opportunity we have to share that gratefulness we have with others in such a way that it makes them want to pay it forward and share that gratefulness with others in whatever acts you do, whether it's through art or organizing, things like Vegan World 2026, anything that shows care and deep concern for others, and leaving the world a little bit better from your touch, from your actions. So with that light and loving sense in our hearts, let's just now drop down into our being. And that can, but doesn't necessarily have to be limited to your belly. It can be a space that's quite large, that can embrace, literally half your neighborhood if you really drop into your being. And I just kind of want to, with you, explore things in this place of being, in the place of the siddhas of miraculous abilities. I just want to ask some interesting questions like, have you ever thought what it might be like here now to step into a pool of boundlessness, to step into a pool of a place without boundaries, without limits? How often do you consider your connection to the whole separate from any labels, where you just sit in innocence and allow yourself to be totally like a sponge and absorb as much as you possibly can of every possible energy that we are all immersed in, and to engage yourself in such a way that the more you do it, the more different types and diverse experiences of energy you become aware of. Have you ever found yourself in a forest that's never been touched by time, a timeless forest? Just to get a poetic sense of what an epiphany might be like when you find yourself contemplating your social sphere, and all of a sudden an image of a star system arises, and all of a sudden you start seeing your social sphere as a solar system sphere. And then the next thing you know, you're taken inside your cellular structure and looking at molecules. The center, the nucleus surrounded by electrons and neutrons. Just different themes of what it might be like when you arrive home into yourself and experience a state of peace. And that peace connects you to everything. And that everything lets you know you're connected to it. So just a few little acidic invitations, maybe ways of considering your experience, and otherwise heretofore maybe not considered ways, or maybe so. Maybe as an artist you have many of those experiences, or maybe being really good at organizing, you see the design of things in really impeccable and omniscient ways. Who knows? Okay, I think we've peered into those realms enough. I think we've tuned up. I think we've got our shadows, gifts, and Siddha motors running. Well, welcome everybody. Normally I start, but we have enough seasoned warriors here on the, and by warrior I mean somebody. It's all about the interpretation of Mars now, which is about mutation. It's not about war anymore. So when I say a warrior, it's people who make change happen through themselves and through others, and always from the gift space. We always share from the gift space. The more and more you learn about your shadows, the more and more you want to bring those deep into your heart and let them, once you bring them into your heart, they'll transform on their own. The gifts is always something we give to others, and the siddhas is something we always just together, kind of in communion, just sort of enjoy, and we can be spontaneous and speak or not speak, or do whatever we do with it. That's kind of the universal. So I invite anybody tonight. I don't think I need to go first anymore, to open up the space. And I'm gonna just say we can open in it from the shadow, the gift, or the siddha. At this point, I don't think it really matters which place we open it from. And as you express, if you feel to move from one to the other for whatever reason, you can do that too. So I just open it up, and I'm going to go on mute if anybody feels like opening, just with awareness into, when we're sharing here and there, to maybe say something about it, as as we always do, whether it's a gift or a shadow. And synchronous with that is a gift. The gift is usually a conscious thing from the heart. The shadow is usually an unconscious thing or subconscious thing that's a mental pattern. And the siddha is usually just a sense of connectedness into the total being. and your total being, and kind of envelops you and just inundates you with itself. So I'm going on mute. If please, anybody, I invite anybody who wishes to begin.
I'd be happy to start. Big shadow, big, big, big shadow right now. And that shadow has to do with not just it has to do with the personal, the interpersonal, and the collective. All three wrapped up together, interrelated. It's to do with our individual well-being, our well-being in relationship to our beloveds, our relationship in relation to the community and the greater world around us. To do with boundaries, expectations, disappointment, trust issues, feeling let down, disrespected, not loved, not honored. And I'm not just talking about for myself personally, but for things that I feel myself personally, but also things I witness to my friends and to the community around me. And in the shadow, there's a strange thing happening where there is integrity within self when you're by yourself, and then there's when you meet the world around you, whether it's as an individual meeting an individual or meeting a community, and how to handle that, how to know what choices to make, what words to say, what to communicate about that, how to find resolution, transformation, trust, healing. So I'll end with that because I think that was pretty clear. I feel like, Winnie the Pooh when he has a rain cloud over his head and it's just like pissing down on him. That's where I'm at right now. But Winnie the Pooh does have Eeyore. Thank God. Thank God for Eeyore.
Beautiful. Thank you, Melissa. That sounded like it probably covered just about every aspect of the inevitable result of creating a collective that is growing under a lot of friction that comes from the bringing together of the intent to awaken and become more excellent human beings, grinding against the conditioning that of all the collective unconscious that's been instilled in everybody through the classrooms and families and the media, and the media and everything. And it's a very powerful thing when those two things meet and come together. It's a much bigger thing than somebody just sitting on their own and meditating and dealing with their mind and I don't want to be here. I'd rather go do something. This is so boring just sitting here. Or a prayer where you have to, you're repeating whatever. I mean, so I want to include both sides, East and West. So, and then your mind is coming in and go, why do I have to say this thing? I've said it so many times. It doesn't really work. I mean, we know what we go through when we do those things. This is much bigger. And because all of those little inner voices now all of a sudden assume the form of whole persons who are representatives of an image, a self-image, a specific aspect that will jump out and assume a different forms. And as we start to mature in this process, because we're all obviously going to have to, I think without even saying it, we all realize there's a tremendous amount of maturing we're all going to have to go through as collective beings now, because we're tackling something we've never been faced with before. And as we and I've been even though I haven't been able to attend much lately, and I don't know how much attending I'll be able to do, but I'm always watching the videos later whenever I can, so I stay up on all of whatever is current, and so I can be abreast of everything. I'm definitely at least staying informed. But I'm noticing that it is trying. I'm noticing even in the best of situations where everybody's cooperating, then there's just this mass amount of material we've got to organize and somehow get that to work in a way where there's a structure of governance, which always has to come in when you have something and you're trying to create things in the world. There always has to be some kind of structure, and that in itself is going to create a lot of tension, because you're always going to have, even as much as we want to be a synarchy where every person is an authority unto themselves and is respected as such, hierarchy is going to sneak in because of that collective unconscious conditioning we all have. And people are going to feel, and I notice it even when the meetings are really cruising. I really watch people, and I know sometimes people feel snubbed even when it's going good. So who knows why? I mean, there's so many reasons why, because maybe we didn't get to say what we wanted to say. Maybe somebody overlooked what we put out and they answered everybody else's questions. Lord knows what the reason is, but there's so many possibilities in there. And it's just so challenging. And as we grow into it more, and we learn to, and we become more familiar with and understand each other more, that's the interesting thing, to keep these spaces sacred, because new people coming in, as we become very intimate and familiar with each other, we may be holding spaces for people in very, very, very regressed and vulnerable spaces, which we need to be able to do, at least in this meeting. We need to be able to hold space for just about anything with compassion and detachment, because that's the space we're creating, to be able to open your shadow and feel safe, and be able to share whatever that shadow is, you know. Because in the end, once we give everybody the space to share our shadow, then it's so much easier for each one of us to embrace each other in the heart. I mean, because once we start doing that, then the shadow's over, and it's serving the gift, which it should do, because the gift is a higher frequency, and a higher frequency always gives guidance to a lower frequency. And that's something we don't think about often, because it always feels so good to just do a downhill run right into your shadow. Screw this, I don't care, whatever. You know, it takes work to go into your gift. It takes work to lift yourself up. It takes work to do this work that we're all engaged in. That's so much work right now. And it's only going to be more for quite a while, until it grows, until we become professionals with the collective intent and the collective wisdom that we're learning to handle. It's as we can see, it's really easy to get burned with this stuff if you don't know what you're doing. Patricia, is your hand up? Would you like to go? I was just because of what Melissa opened, but I'm good. I can fill in as we go along. Anybody who wants to share their sequence, please just raise your hand and I will go on mute.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to interrupt you. At the same time, I think I think this would be a shadow. It's like when people are talking a lot, um, I mean, like, or no, that's not the accurate word. When people say more words than I can absorb, like there's a point where it's really hard for me to stay focused. And part of that is, of the shadow, would be the part of me that's saying everybody should have equal time, and I wish people could be timed so that it could just be really simple. And another part is saying, why does that person keep on getting to talk more? And why isn't that person speaking up? And so it's hard, it's difficult for me to discern, like, is this my judgments coming in, or is this a discernment? is this my intuition saying, something, the balance of power, you might say, is not even. And so, I mean, I guess, I got, I was called during a meeting a hypocrite because I was trying to get in on a conversation. Two people were going on for a long time, and I was trying to interject, and I was said, well, you're breaking the rules. You're all about making rules, and now you're interrupting, and you're a hypocrite. And it's like, oh my God. Like, how do we facilitate conversations so that everybody can really have a chance? And I'm telling you, okay, so the shadow part is like going, oh, that person is taking up way too much space. I want to hear somebody else. And that shadow is not compassionate. The shadow feels helpless. The shadow is feeling powerless. Like, I don't have any power here to try to change this. What should I do? Should I just leave? Should I say something? Should I give up? So that's my shadow.
Wow, I really liked you sharing that. That was really cool. That gave me a lot of. You have a remarkable mind. You do. You have it's very discerning, because that's also, we'll get to the discerning because that's a gift. But thank you for staying right on target with the shadow. One thing I'll share with you, if as an offering that could be useful, because in my experience, when I used to get overwhelmed, because I would just go into a space out mode where where I'd look in somebody's eyes and in their eyes, I was so shy, and I'd lose it, and I just couldn't even hear what they were saying because I was so shy. I would just go into blank mode. But what I discovered years later, and I'll keep it brief because I want everybody to share. But what I discovered years later is I shifted my attention purposely and literally had to hold it in my heart, and started listening to people from there. And I never got overwhelmed anymore. And I found that people would be more receptive to me, and that I could, because I was also super shy and had I don't know if you are, I shouldn't say it like that, excuse me. But I was, and so it was just just to get over the fear. But once I shifted into my heart, it became so much more relaxed, and I found people gave me more space, because all of a sudden, when I tuned into my heart, the other person, in order to stay with me, has to kind of tune into their heart. It creates a whole different vibration. So I'll just offer that. I know when I go into my mind, it's a little overwhelming sometimes to listen to people, especially if they're getting into very technical areas I'm not familiar with, in any way. That's enough. I'll just say that because I wanted to share that with you. I hope that could be something that might be useful. I don't know. But I offer it in the spirit of to be helpful. Please, Jamin.
Thank you. So I just want to comment on, if I may, on what Patricia shared, because it's a frustration I have felt time and again. And I just want to give a simple example. Imagine there are 6 people in a conversation that's going to last 1 hour, right? Then, to be fair and equitable, each of those 6 people will be able to talk for 10 minutes each, right? You get 60 minutes, right? You know what I would love, and this is probably totally feasible to do, is just imagine there was like a little simple graph that had 6 columns, right? And as a person is talking, their column goes up, 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 up. And when they hit 10 minutes, beep, they're like muted, unless somebody wants to give that person some of their time. Just like in the Senate, they say, I'm gonna give my time to the senator from, Pennsylvania, so that Senator Arlen Specter can keep filibustering or whatever. Fine. Go ahead. Benjamin can give his time to whoever he wants, as far as I'm concerned. But at least have that basic check and balance. Anyway, you get my point. I'm just saying, amen, hallelujah, because otherwise, you know what you get? There are people who will just talk and talk and talk and talk. And if there's empty space, they'll fill it up, and then they'll keep going and going and going and going and going. And it's like a Cookie Monster of the minutes. They just gobble up the minutes like Cookie Monster, and they don't leave anything for anyone else. That's not a conversation. You know what that is? That's a speech. Going on mute.
Thank you. I feel like you were headed into the gift there and to the solution realm. So would you synthesize yourself and give us the shadow essence of that, please?
The shadow essence of what Patricia said, or of
your if you have one. I mean, you know how it is. It's very open in here.
You mean my shadow of the week? Yeah,
whatever your shadow is.
Yeah. Okay. My shadow is that, so, as you guys are all aware, Guy McPherson and Yatao participated in last Friday's block party, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, wow, all right, this feels like the beginning of something. And now they're like, Ye's like, I don't have time. I got these conferences to prepare for in, end of March and April. And Guy is like, how do I know this is going to lead to action? It's like there's this fundamental not getting it, right? When, for us, we've fortunately been able to get it. And I want everyone to get it and to get into it and get involved and start participating and build this collective superintelligence. And especially, folks like Guy and Ye, who are so important in the SRM project, which is the most urgent of all, as far as I'm concerned, period. Anyway, so my shadow is, damn it, why don't you get it? Right? I mean, it's not like these people are stupid. Anyway, that's my shadow. That's just pure shadow. I'm just barfing shadow all over the screen. We haven't extracted the good or much less the siddha. So this is just pure syringe heroin shadow right into the vein. Going on mute.
Wow, that was really cool. Thanks for that shot. I didn't see that coming either. Good. I'm glad you brought all that in. That was really cool. I'm going to be on mute. I always like to pop in real quick in each case. Facilitating. Whoever would like to share next. I'm purposely hopefully I can go last this time. I've never gone last, so it'd be fun to try.
I'll jump in. I'm not quite sure how to follow that imagery though. That was great. My shadow this week, I feel like, has been falling back into a rut of reaction versus responsiveness. For moments, I'll have the ability to respond to things in the way that I imagine being able to, and sometimes the ability to do that seems to get overshadowed by just feeling like I need to react to my situation versus, really being able to think it through. And there have been moments of clarity in my life where, big decisions were made or medium decisions. It doesn't matter. Where I feel like I'm being responsive versus reactive. and I'm trying to, well, I guess I won't go into the gift and siddha yet, but that's kind of where I've been this week.
Thank you, Benjamin. It's always a pleasure going on the journey with you. Just something I'll mention real quickly in passing, and then I'll, whoever wants to go next. It's a joy even to go through you guys' shadow with you, because I think what we're discovering is that even the shadow with a group on it, it sort of changes the texture and flavor of it to where you can, I mean, ultimately you can almost have a little giggle about it, which is, I think it's kind of like, throwing the trash in the fire, or the fire being the laughter. And not that it's a bad thing to have shadows, but it's like, what are you going to do with it anyway? I mean, really, it needs to be transformed. So anyway, I'm really enjoying everybody's, because I think we're all sensing that even in that structure is the gift. I mean, it's just the bottom end of it, right? I mean, it's just the root we have to kind of pay for and earn and go through the struggle of to get to, okay, we built the tree, now we can, or whatever, planted the tree, and now we can enjoy the fruit of it. Ray, are you there? Are you verbal there? Are you just a picture, or is there a voice with that picture tonight, Ray? Okay. Oh, no shadow today. No shadow, no image. Okay. Okay, very good. We respect that, absolutely respect that. Thanks for your clarity. That's always respected. And just another thing I want to say, because this group is a group where I respect everybody's divinity. So a couple of things I want to say that are like no rules is, one is we're not going to have no rules here. So what that means is everybody will act accordingly, according to their own inner divinity and truth. And I respect it so much that I know everybody will come here and treat this space sacred. And because that's all we've done, and I've never seen anything otherwise. Now, the one thing that Jamin mentioned about the little bouncy bars, I might be willing to try that and see how that works, because it just seems like it'd be fun. But just things in the how to say it, the spirit of adventure and exploration. Absolutely, I'm open to things that could be playful and fun. But yes, Melissa, I see your hand, so I will respond. I'm going to get better at looking at people's hands, so I don't go on and on.
I just wanted to say something about timing for people's whatever they want to say. And having spent 14 years with First Nations peoples, they would never interrupt a speaker. If the speaker is going to take 4 hours to speak, the whole community allows that. So I'm just wondering if that isn't more of the white patriarchal bullshit about censoring and telling people they only have X amount of time to speak. So I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, Melissa, hugs and kisses. I love it when somebody, that's what this group is for. That's the bottom line of this group, is cutting through the bullshit and getting to the real point, which is we are all adults here, and we can do whatever and I'm not going to pardon myself, we can do whatever the fuck we want to here, because we're adults, we're grown up, we're conscious, and we're working on waking up. And if we limit any aspect of that, then let's not pretend we're going to be waking ourselves up all the way, because there's going to be strictures put on it, and there's going to be curves, and there's going to be walls, and there's going to be stops, and there's going to be, and we can't do that. We can't do that if we are really developing a super intelligence. We have to go be outside the boundaries. We're all loving beings here. Nobody's here to hurt anybody. That's obvious. Yes, Patricia.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little uneasy, because this is kind of, it seems like, I know you're saying there's no rules, and yet I do come with certain expectations, and that is people will share their shadows, their gifts, their siddhas. And then when we start getting into a conversation about people, like what it kind of, getting into conversations, and it almost seems like it's addressing my shadow of, and somebody, Jamin made a comment on my shadow, and that's fine. So with and the idea that there's no rules and somebody could go on for 4 hours without anybody interrupting them, and that would be okay. So I'm just thinking that I'm not sure that we're all adults. I mean, I do think we're all adults on the surface here. I don't know how our inner children are. So if there's no rules and there's no controls, I mean, I might need to bow out because I don't feel safe, because then I'm going to feel like I have to. I mean, I do feel safe with most of you. I don't feel that safe with Ray right now. I don't know Mark. I don't see how I can feel safe with people I don't know.
Thank you. Well, let me see. How can we do that? Because it's not that there's no rules. It's that everybody knows what is common sense and common courtesy, and everybody, when they're in their heart, will act according to a compassionate way of being. And we're not doing a governance here. We're doing literally this is in the most loving way you could imagine it, conscious anarchy. And conscious anarchy means that each person is their own aristocrat, their own authority, their own, each person is a king and queen here in this space. And so they have each earned that at least in my mind, I see that divinity before me. And so that is ultimately why I have the courage to say, let's step into the shadow. It's a very tricky place. A lot of things can come up there. And then let's move to the gift, and then let's move to the sit-up. Go ahead, Melissa.
I just wanted to address, Patricia, what you just said, if I may. Is that okay? So in the First Nations doings, I never heard anybody ever be disrespectful to any other individual. They always use correct language. They don't swear in public. And they're really working from a place of their highest and best spirit. And that's really what I'm talking about. And so I think all of us as a collective need to be working together, and individually, I don't know if need is the word, but should be, I guess, from a place of love and compassion. So, for example, not to judge anyone, but I wouldn't call somebody a hypocrite on a forum like this. I don't think that's beautiful language or kind. And I think it's a judgment. And I think that it's not, you know what I mean? It's like, for me, that's judgment. And I think maybe we have to all learn how to speak with loving, compassionate language to one another, even if we don't agree with the same concepts or way somebody's being. We should stop judging people. And that's where I'm coming from. And then when we come from that place, then whatever somebody is sharing is a loving message from spirit, from our spirit into the community. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, thanks for clarifying that. And if I may, if no one objects, if anybody wants to mute me, you can. But I think like what I heard Jamin said was that sometimes things do become a speech, and they're not coming from their heart. And I am guilty of this too. I actually would rather see, okay, we're kind of like an in-between place. I don't know if any of you ever read the Celestine Prophecy, where the conversations flowed, and it was and people knew when to pass the energy, and we can have a vision of that. But until we can learn how to do that, and I think some of us have done that as we're getting to know each other, smaller groups. But until we get to that place of knowing how much can I speak, that, I mean, when is it best to just stop? And then maybe timing and being even is just a way of containing, of just it's a step. We're finding, because that's what I'm gonna, and I'm yeah, it's just a step until we get to that place. And we definitely need to speak with respect always from our hearts. I hope we would aspire towards that. And when you said they use, I think you said appropriate language or clean language, and I would say, why don't we use language that children would feel comfortable? Because what if a parent wants to be sitting and listening to this like Maya? Then we don't want the children to, I mean, a parent to feel uncomfortable. So, you know, these are topics that hopefully we're going to talk about in the base camp.
And I really like these kind of discussions, especially when we're working with the governance system and those kind of things. And another thing I know without a doubt, if a child was present again in this group, I know everybody would act accordingly. Nobody would start going into inappropriate words. But when there are no children, I always say the only rule is be aware in the moment. Okay, there's the rule. That's it. If I have to have a rule, that is the one rule I will allow, is be aware in the moment and stay in touch with your heart. And that pretty much will cover everything. And what I noticed too, because we're starting to digress, at least in terms of what this meeting is about, into this kind of a kind of thing that I wish, for the most part, to keep to other meetings, because this meeting is about accelerating consciously this collective and evolving it. So when we speak about the shadow, we speak about our shadow, or if it's a collective theme, we speak about a collective shadow. And then each time when we speak, it's like with the talking stick, we're sharing our essence with the space. So then we move into the gift, and all of a sudden we're finding solutions to all those things that had we digressed into conversation while still working with the shadow. And I've experienced this in the past. If we digress into conversational modes between 2 people or 3 people in the shadow mode, then we're getting into areas that this group isn't really designed for. It's designed for, let's share our shadow, then let's jump into our gift. And because then we usually, when we embrace the shadow, we find our own solutions, and then let's jump into the siddha, because that's what the purpose of this group is about. It's as I read in the beginning. So if everybody would be okay with that, and if we need to, yes, and if we need to work out other things, then we can do that either after the meeting's over when we're not recording anymore, or we can create another meeting where we hash out stuff. But this meeting is not about hashing things out. This meeting, as I said, is everybody I respect as an aristocrat in their own right, their own authority as a king or a queen. And I'm going to share my shadow now because I haven't done that yet. And so for me, it was a very, very intense week last week, and I felt kind of shattered into a million pieces that just kind of made me feel no sense of connectedness to anything. It was very interesting to allow that to occur, because normally I like to try and, pretend like I got it super together and every piece is where it belongs and should be. And then as that coalesced, it came into a very deep sadness inside my heart. And out of that, I had to kind of just go very much into my own space and just kind of be with that, because I know that when I'm in certain spaces, that's unless we have a beautiful group like this where we can share shadow, like I'm doing now. I always go inside with my shadow, because there's so much it can teach you if you don't act it out. If you just learn to be with it, and then And of course, it transformed on its own after going through that. But it was a very powerful experience the last week for me, because I just went through a shattering and then a sadness, and then and in that sadness, there was a sense of wanting to isolate and separate and divide and a lot of other things, and give up and whatever, and then just do whatever. But in the end, okay, and I'll say, I was going to go into the gift, but I'll save that and tell what I would like to do now. That's my shadow, is offer Mark, if he feels at all like wanting to jump in with the shadow, if he feels comfortable. If not, then that's fine. We'll just carry on, and there is no pressure.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I have anything to say at the moment, but I just want you to know that I'm shutting off audio and video as much as I can, because I'm camping without electricity, and I don't want to run my phone down to 0 before I have a chance to charge it up again.
Very, very cool. Thank you. Thank you for that response. And I mean, yes, that's beautiful. You know, and if you do come again to a couple more meetings, you can take as long as you want until you get acclimatized to this, if this is something you find you would like to explore more. Yeah.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Okay. Now, okay, Ray, no audio. So Ray, do you have maybe a sentence you could write out of your shadow? I just, you know, just want to play with you a little bit, because I know you're in there, and I just want to see if Ray's in there and tickle him a little bit. But of course you don't have to. No speeches to make. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Ray. Thank you for responding. Again, I don't need to go first. So whoever would like to shift into gift mode now, as far as we've been doing it up to now, and that could change over time as we get better and learn more ways to do this. But as we move into the gift, let's remember to try and take the shadow that we opened and bring it up into the gift, so that we actually have some real, I was almost going to say meat, heaven forbid, but it could be vegan meat to work on. Okay. Well, you got to catch this. You really got to pay attention. You know what you say. Those are the things that are cuss words to me. Is anything to do with that? The big egg industry, and that to me is for you know, just for myself. I'm just being playful, but I mean, but not really. Those to me are profanity. If you slip with that, more so than, you know, standard profanity. Anyway, I'm going on mute. Whoever would like to begin the gift unwrapping.
I'll go. As somebody said so wisely, Dharmendra, as you said, that when we meditate, it's just so easy. Well, actually, you didn't quite say it this way, but when we're alone, we can really think well of ourselves and think everything's going great. Then when we connect with someone else, when I connect with someone else and have a challenging interaction, then I need to look at myself and say, okay, what's your responsibility, and what's my responsibility? Look at myself and say, what's my responsibility? So I think that the gift of me just like pouring myself into, like, you know, like being at the base camp for approximately 18 hours. I didn't make the first 4 or 6 hours. And the challenging situations that have come up, it's really such an opportunity for me to see my patterns and see how, whoa, I have this knee-jerk reaction, like, I'm out of here, I want to run away. And so to it's a gift to be in a space where people are encouraging. I mean, this is a gift coming from outside myself, from all of you, of saying, no, Patricia, don't leave us. We need you. And then me saying, you know, this is where I'm really going to grow. This is the community that I've yearned. That's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about living in community, because I know that I will grow. So all the things, even though I want everybody to keep track of their time and be perfectly, you know, everything to go perfect, it's messy, it's chaotic a lot. But the gift is that I'm staying with you all because I love you.
Beautiful. You see, that was beautiful. That's what this group is about. It's about taking an energy and accelerating it and then seeing what happens. And you really just, you up the frequency, and you're, you know, Patricia's gift for the whole space to absorb and bask in. Beautiful. I'm going back on mute. Whoever would like to go next.
Wow. Patricia, you took the words right out of my mouth, actually, because what I wanted to share was that the gift came also to me through all of you. It didn't come from me this time, and actually it came to our men from your words that you described with your shadow of being fractured and sad, and all these words you use. You really describe where I went as well. And so I got a gift from what you described, and what the gift was that came to me from this sharing of yours and a group was that we all really want to be a part of community. We want to be loved. We want to feel good. We want to feel like people care about us and respect us and honor us and love us and include us. That's all we want, all of us. And that's a beautiful gift. And so through others' pain and shadow, I could see that gift that we all want so clearly. So I thank all of you.
And this is why I love going through the gifts, because it just gets juicier and juicier and yummier and yummier. It's like when you're a kid and you get this ice cream, right? And as you eat it, another ice cream opens up within it that tastes even better. And then you eat that one and the next one opens up and it's even, you know, never mind. Anyway, talk about your inner child having some fun too, though, you know. Anyway, I'm going back on mute. Thank you, Melissa.
I think I can tie this in to what you both were saying, Patricia and Melissa, in terms of moving from my shadow of feeling reactive versus responsive. I've felt inspired by this community to what's the word I was looking at here? To make better commitments to myself, in order to make better commitments to my community. I know that there are myriad things going on in my head that I am trying to work on, and I love this community so much that I want to be my best self within it, and inspire others to be their best selves as well, because I just think that it's a fantastic way of growing, like you said, Patricia. And everybody here in this community inspires me to grow.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's like the Grinch when he got his heart back and it went bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know why that image keeps coming up. Anyway, back. Thank you, Benjamin.
Well, I'm happy to share. So out of my shadow, a couple kind of gifts are coming to me. I think the bigger one is the gift of patience, and patience both in the time sense, but also patience in the perspective sense. Not everyone shares my perspective, and I can offer my perspective, but I can also just offer it and be patient. And people like Benjamin, conversation number one, boom, he just totally got it. Right? He got my vision. Right? Didn't mean he had to totally agree with it, or didn't mean he couldn't come up with a better vision, but he got my vision. Bam. Some people get it immediately, like Benjamin. Some people get it over time, and and so on. And anyway, so the gift of patience, and then another sort of smaller gift seems like that we've gotten to the point where it kind of should be obvious, to folks like Guy and Ye. That's a gift in and of itself. This clarity. Thanks, sweetheart. That we've got this clarity. Anyway, that's what I have to say for now. And as always, I'm open to coaching and etc.
I'll just make a comment that, I didn't get it right away. It took me, I think, about 7 meetings before it all layered in, because I wanted to see every little aspect of it, not just the overall thing. I needed to see the overall thing in every little detailed part. So that took a while for it to sink in for me. And I just wanted to comment on that. So patience would probably definitely be, in my opinion, a virtue for you, because not everybody's going to get that real quick, especially when you start laying it into AI and all those areas where it could go. It's just not everybody thinks like that, and you do an incredible job of unraveling and demystifying it. But it does take a while to get to really grasp the labyrinthic expanse of what you're presenting. So yeah, I mean, I think patience would really be helpful. Yeah, because just because of the how should I say it, the immensity and the urgency, it's challenging, I'm guessing. I can only guess, if I try and put myself in your shoes, that the patience is going to take a while. And Ray has said yes. Oh, yes. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and my hit is you don't even see all of it yet, and as you evolve it, it's going to evolve you. That's my feeling. That I really get a very strong hit about that. Ray has said yes, gift of clarity. Cool. So Ray is sharing. I didn't even have to ask. He's bringing the clarity in, and Melissa is adding persistence. Yes, perseverance. Yeah, perseverance. Perseverance. There's definitely a lot of struggle going on. And since I'm talking, I might as well go into my gift, since I think everybody, including Ray and Marcus, said he's just going to watch, as far as I understand. And unless you, Mark, did you want to say anything about a gift level? I mean, I'll always open it to each person, even if you've said whatever you've said.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to speak about a gift.
Okay, beautiful.
I have for a while been listening to guided meditations from a teacher named Tara Brach. And one thing she asks in the beginning of the meditations is to go in your heart and to think about what it is, what's your purpose, what's your highest purpose for being here in meditation. And so I was able to understand that I want to have peace and love for others and connection with others. And I don't experience that nearly as much as I would like to in my life, but the gift is seeing that it's there and it's available, that those qualities are available, and that's my gift right now for myself.
Thank you, Mark. I definitely felt your heart resonate into that, and the gift, that's always the clincher, is the heart rings somewhere in there. So beautiful. And thank you for taking the courage in this group of unknown people. Go ahead, Patricia.
And I wanted to say that actually you did slip in a little bit of shadow there, because you said it's something that you don't have in your life as much as you would like. And I'm really hoping that, and of course, coming into all these new people, sharing your shadow, I could understand that might be challenging. And I'm hoping that you're feeling some safety as you sense all of our spirits. And so you're feeling comfortable to be vulnerable. Is that accurate? All right, thanks. Thanks, Dharmendra. I'm really appreciating how we're all sharing space. I just want to observe that I'm not feeling that sense of restlessness or unease. I'm loving our flow. So thank you. And yeah, feels really good. And I love the Grinch. The Grinch's heart. That's oh, ha, ha, hee, okay.
Yay on that one. I think that's very cool. There was a bunch of stuff I was going to say, but I'm going to save it for the sit-up because that's where that belongs. And I'll go into my gift. So after the shattering and the sadness and the isolation, I, of course, inevitably bump back into myself again, as I always do. And one of the things I always remind myself of is everybody seems to carry, or at least I did, let's put it that way. I used to idealize wisdom masters and what I considered as enlightened people or awakened beings and these kind of things, and always elevated them to a position of beyond any suffering and blah, 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 blah. My perception of that has since changed, and it's to me, that person is a person who's not afraid to be a total human being. And so they even experience the depths of the shadow in an appropriate way, either in a space like this where it's shared openly or on your own. Those are the two spaces that I see are the appropriate places for shadow work. And so when I remembered that and realized that, okay, so, I was hit by a Mack truck and knocked across the street, and it took me a little while, 2 or 3 days, to brush the dirt off and get back up and go, oh, okay, I'm still here. And I'm still just as good as I ever was, and I can still touch siddhis and do all kinds of things. And I said, so, okay, what's my purpose? And this, of course, all was not pre-planned. I'm sort of paraphrasing afterwards, watching what I went through and going, okay, I'm going to describe it like this. That's how the running commentary I'm giving on it. And then I just said, oh yeah, I'm here to do accelerated collective evolution. That's my purpose. It's clear to me. It's so funny. I looked it up on the web the other day. I looked up accelerated collective evolution, and the very first thing I saw was me in a Tai Chi pose. And holy crap, from Deborah Grignard's interview with me on her show. I just cracked up and oh my God, I exist. that was just a crack up. That actually wasn't where I, well, maybe it is now, I don't know, but I was actually going to go somewhere else with the gift, but that was a very pleasant thing. But the point is that with my discipline, which to me means following my inner feel. What do I love the most, and giving that my energy and going with it and staying with it. And I see, for me, my best contribution into all of this is what I'm doing here. Because what I've seen is in the last 4.5 months since I connected with Jamin, which is when all this kind of just somehow, and then with Benjamin, and there were all these synchronicities, and then everything just took off, boom. So it's kind of all of us together, but I think we all contributed a part to it, and we all sort of blended our energies together, and then it just kind of went kaboom, and now everything's this. If we look back at 4 months ago and looking at where we are now, I don't think any of us could have guessed this, especially from where we were all at the time. And based on what Jamin shared with me about where he was at, trying to work this collective intelligence, right, Jamin? And then with Benjamin, and he's just coming into all this and going, what, you know, I mean, from what I understood, is like, how can I get involved? Where can I get involved? What can I do? How can I make a difference? And you know, and then it just kind of, it just all, and then of course I have to add Nolan and Evan, and then soon after Melissa and Ray, and it just went on, and it just blossomed out of that. And so I feel that somehow, you know, and it's something I rarely ever do, but it feels really good to me to acknowledge myself in my heart and kind of give myself a pat on the back and go, yeah, I did something with that accelerated collective evolution. There's something in there. This crazy guy, Dharmendra, who keeps showing up at the meetings and going, yeah, this is great talking about it, but what are we going to do about it? You know, and then instead of, and I would just keep going, well, instead of talking about collective evolution, here, I'm going to show you a way to do it. Here, let me show you this. Let me do this with you. And then that eventually led to this group. So thank you. Oh, he's already gone. I was going to say thank you to Mark, but he's had to leave and so quickly because his battery died. But it was really nice. I always love it when somebody new comes in. It seems like every week there's always a new person. And then all of us, the regular people, which I love, that we can continue to carry the continuity of the frequency when new people come in. So that's all. I just the determination that no matter what, I have a message. It's accelerated collective evolution, and as much as Jamin has the super intelligence and the SRM and stuff, I'm finding I'm learning from that to stand, you know, from that beautiful example, role model of what Jamin's doing is to stand in my own center and say, okay, I'm about accelerated collective evolution. And so all my energy is now focused there. And from there, I'm going to expand out into, because I see that that's what Jamin is doing. And he's a really good example of how to do something and really stand in your space with it and then just keep opening it. So, because I've just had a lot of practice at it in different areas. I've had some practice, not nearly as much, but so I'm going to start standing in that more and more. And I really want to put my energy behind this, and love to all of you that keep showing up. And I really appreciate it.
Just want to make a comment. I think, Dharmendra, you're saying that if you want to find out who you really are, you should look on the World Wide Web. Is that correct?
What? That wasn't on purpose. What? I heard what you said.
Because, you know, I'm joking, right? But whenever we get discouraged, we can Google ourselves.
Okay, so now, in order to, we're going to shift into the siddhas now, because everybody's done their gift. So I'm just going to start with just what I do when to open to the siddhas is I open space to the higher, and I ask for help from above, and I open the present moment, and I just let whatever comes in come in, and something always comes in. I call it the well, I used to call it the angel of the moment, but I went away from that because it's a biased term, and I just say whatever wisdom is available to come through me right now. So I feel like I'm getting a very clear sensory image of standing under a waterfall, and it's pounding down on my head and literally liberating every single resistance I might have of any kind whatsoever, on any level whatsoever. And I'm just feeling a sense of connectedness to spirit. And in that connectedness to spirit, I see that we're all the same. We're all just teeny tiny little specks of God. That's what our spirit is. And we're all in the same place. We're all in the same being. We're all in the same flow. We're all in the same consciousness. Absolutely unique, each one of us, because we have our own perspective, our own facet, our own take that's been given to us by the source of everything. So I just want to settle down into that and just mirror as a clear mirror at the facet of that aspect of source through me, that I am a clear mirror for anybody else's source in them. Because that is exactly a kind of a good description of what the siddha space is. So I'll just open it by kind of describing it and also kind of stepping into that. So I'm going on mute.
Dharminder, do you think that we could have about a minute of silence, both to allow that whatever to come through us, as well as we have been talking a lot, so just to have a little bit of space? Would that be possible right now?
1 minute right now.
Okay, thank you.
So I open space to the higher and ask for help from above, and opening the present moment for the next person who feels like opening to the siddha space.
So what came into me was when I focusing on highest divine purpose, what came to me was the word joy. It wasn't just a word, it was actually fizzy champagne bubbles. Joy and sharing creativity. And I think part of the healing gift that leads me to the siddha is getting back into my highest divine purpose through creativity to raise the consciousness and sharing that which brings us all to collective joy.
And I love the just like you get the ring in the heart when we do the gift, and then when the siddhas hit right, it's like my whole spine straight up and down becomes like a lightning rod. With the top of my head goes boink, and that with a tingle that always tells me it's truth. I learned that a long time. I don't know. So it's like boom, lovely. Thank you.
Well, I'll go. Thank you, Dharmendra, for taking the suggestion to have silence. It helped me to get more fully into this experience. And what I saw was Jesus came to me and put his hand on my heart. And I sensed him saying, remember, in all of what you're doing, the main thing is to learn how to love. So even if the outcomes are not as you like, I kind of added, I kind of, yeah, sense them saying, even if, things aren't going as fast as you want or things aren't perfect, look at all these opportunities you have to learn how to love everyone, even those who are hard to love. And then I saw him take my face like this and say, "You're doing such a good job. I love how you're loving." And then I just felt, yeah, just kind of basked in his love. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. That's another quality, because there's the infinite qualities of siddhas, but the quality that came out with you the most was touching something, and then just this emanation and melting into a greater, into a greatness kind of thing. It's really nice. Kind of, I don't know what that was, and I don't even care to know. It was good enough just to experience it, and that was just another beautiful. Thank you, Patricia.
The word opportunity resonated with me there for my siddha. I definitely feel, and I think I've used this one in the past, but it just keeps coming back. Like an opportunity for transformation or transfiguration, or the opportunity to bring my best self into my presence.
That was beautiful too. That went right down into the belly and just kind of like a little light bulb went off. So very fascinating. I'm not sure. Jamin, are you with us?
Yep.
Do you have any siddha you would like to share?
Well, I'd love a little help with it.
Yes.
Because perhaps one thing that's coming to me is unity. So as I create space for other people's perspectives and their evolution, or just staying flat for a while, and and then rejoining later, as we make space for all of that, maybe a siddha is just like unity, just a unity of humanity where everyone is welcome and loved just as they are. And no one is like, hurry along, come on. I need you to get this in the same way that I get it right now, so that I can see my vision fulfilled the way I'm having a big ego trip around it, right? It's kind of like a letting go of, I'm going to orchestrate this dance in a certain way, right? The Macarena, right, for example.
Right.
But instead, let's all just dance and touch each other in whatever way, organically and creatively, it happens. Jamin, get off your high horse.
I pick up 6 or 7. Oh, Melissa, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say things, since I understood that Jamin was asking for help with finding his siddha. Did I understand that correctly? So obviously I know Jamin very well, and I've known him for 3 years, and I've witnessed this being coming into his beingness deeper and deeper. And I just wanted to say that what I witness is, regardless of the outcome, that you are consistently persistent, compassionate, visionary, inclusive, and you have this ability to always pull all of us back into the highest purpose that we are here. And helping us all to become transformed. Yeah, so that's what comes to me.
Beautiful. Yeah, I definitely picked up 6 or 7 different siddhas out of everything you said, and my tendency was wanting to coalesce. If I was Jamin, I would want. So here's some fun. So if I'm Jamin, I'm going to coalesce all that into one siddha. What would it be in order for me to have supreme power, in a good sense, to move forward into manifesting this into the world? And so I'm just having fun with it now, because at the siddha level, you're allowed to be other people too. That's how much fun it is. There's really no separation anymore. We're all the same. And I just saw ascension. I saw ascension, and it was clarified through the final note Melissa brought in about bringing it always back to the highest point, is this, and lifting everybody because, and that is a quality that I love and share so much with you, brother Jamin, is always. That's why here, when I say no rules, what it means is everybody is so darn disciplined that they can be free. So I know everybody knows what they're doing here. They got it. They nailed it. Everybody's paid their dues. I know everybody's going to be a grown-up and act like it. Then we can be free. That's the only way you can be. Your degree of freedom is your degree of discipline. Without the discipline, or taking responsibility, if you want to look at it that way, that's equal to your freedom. That's how much freedom you're allowed, or you will do harm. Or you will do harm. So you have to have that. That keeps you grounded in it. So ascension, Jamin, ascension. That lift, that beautiful, beautiful lift. And on that note, beautiful, beautiful lift, I'm going to do something a little rebellious here, because this is a school of awakening here, and accelerated evolution is about awakening. And so it means also, especially at the siddha level, that we are willing to, and actually I'm probably overplaying this. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little clip that's less than 3 minutes. It's a joke, and it goes on for a while. And I was actually there in 1980 in the audience when this occurred. And it left us all laughing for 10 minutes. We couldn't, and we all fell all over each other. It was the funniest thing we'd ever heard in our entire lives, especially to hear it live, hot off the press. I think everybody's going to kind of will enjoy this immensely. Let me find my.
I want to hear it.
Let me find my screen share here.
Unplug yourself.
Okay, and I got to get the computer sound optimized. Okay, and here we go. And I hope everybody enjoyed that. It's been a rough week, and I just wanted to kind of give everybody a chance to, if any shadow was in there, I hope you got to live it out in a humorous way and burn it right up.
It's very British. The British use the word fuck a lot, and it's accepted in their language.
You know how, oh, give real quick, Patricia, I'm just going to introduce why this happened, is that there was a lady, a very fundamentalist Christian lady, who came to India. I guess she was traveling all over India, and she stumbled into the commune there where I was working for 14 months, first time I went to India, and he was directing everything there. And she asked him a question. She said, when you use the word fuck, it really offends me. And so that's what he did with it. He just got really playful with it and turned it into a non-issue. It's just like, okay, here's what we can do with that. Let's have fun with it. So anyway, that's me paraphrasing my interpretation. He just did what he did, which was that.
Well, what I would love to do now is something that I really have been enjoying, that we've been doing more, is just to each take a turn to reflect on our experience and how it went for us and how it maybe could have been better. So would anybody object to that? Or?
Okay, what I want to do, Patricia, before we go there, because I've been listening to our other meetings, and this is a unique meeting that's spontaneous every time. And if we do it this time, it's okay, but I don't want it to turn into a pattern, because it sounds like the way we're starting to do sociocracy. This is a luminocracy, not sociocracy. This is about waking up, not about correct social whatever. This is a luminocracy.
No,
So,
it's You know what? This is not about sociocracy.
But
Sociocracy,
I'm
just
with
saying,
you.
I am saying, I just said, I always feel really full.
This time we'll do it. This time we'll do it because I totally want to go with what you're saying because it feels right. So we'll do it this time. I'm not guaranteeing that every time we're going to end the meeting that way, because every time
I wasn't asking for every single
Eh,
time. So
I'm letting everybody out there in the world know too, not just you. I'm telling
Okay.
everybody because every meeting is unique, and that's the signature. One of the signatures of this particular vegan synergy meditation is every time is irrepeatable. It's unique. So I would love to do what you said. I want to try that and see how that feels. I think it'll really be fun, and interesting, and we could probably learn something. Yes, Melissa, I saw you. I just needed to finish.
I just wanted to say that since this is being guided by you, Dharmendra, and no offense to Patricia, I would really like Dharmendra to wrap this up, how he would do that. And then if you're okay with that, everyone, that we could come back to Patricia, your request. Would you mind that?
That's fine. I was only making a request. In fact, I was asking people, do you object to that? And that is part of sociocracy. Yes, sociocracy is about every voice is heard, and that is what I'm attempting to do, is not just to make an order and say, hey everybody, let's reflect. I'm putting an idea out there and seeing how people think. And I just appreciate both of you, but please don't label it sociocracy, because that really isn't that kind of, I feel really uneasy about that, and we could talk about that later.
So there is a point in what Melissa's making is about the kind of space we're creating here with the vegan synergy meditation that arises out of a great desire to share accelerated collective evolution based on 5 decades of meditating and looking into myself and studying with enlightened spiritual teachers all over the world, and especially one for more than a decade who you just heard tell us a pretty funny joke. That guy was my main guy that I learned from. And then I learned from other people in terms of internal martial arts and stuff. And the traditional way that goes as a lineage is there is a guide that kind of gives a certain direction to everything, because there's a very specific purpose to, and it's always been known throughout the ages that when you're working on raising consciousness, there are so many ways and so many areas, and it's so easy to kind of slip off the track. And it's very difficult unless somebody's actually been through the whole labyrinth and survived, i.e. me. It's very difficult to get through to the other side and find the light untarnished by anything of the ego or any other aspect, because it can slip in so many subtle little different ways. So I would ask everybody understands here that when you come here, and Melissa was very respectful, I think a lot of it has to do with what I respect a lot about her is she's been with the native traditions, and she knows, you know, and that when the medicine man or the elders speak, that's something that everybody tends to want to go with the flow of, because they've obviously, whatever they're sharing, they've been through, and they kind of know the ins and outs of it, and they've tried many different scenarios and different ways of doing things in different situations, and tended to find some of the best areas and ways of going about that. And knowing that certain applications work in certain situations, and in other situations, it's better to try other things. In this situation, we're always opening to the new. We're always opening to becoming illuminated in ways we haven't been illuminated before. We're always entering into places where we're pushing our own edge, we're pushing our own boundary. That's why when I say there's no rules, what I mean is you're your own rule. You rule yourself. And I assume that everybody's capable of ruling themselves. And up to now, people coming in and saying, well, let's try this or let's do that. To be honest with you, how can I say that? that assumes that all of a sudden we have more than one guide in the space, and that second guide has the right. What I would respect from you, Patricia, is that if you have a suggestion about where this needs to go, you express it to me and ask me if that's where I think it needs to go, and that would be a loving and respectful way to work in this particular scenario. Because that is kind of how we've been working it. And what I find is when everybody, because everybody gets a chance to speak here, as you can see, we make it a point that everybody shares their shadow, their gift. They can take as long as they want, I don't care, and their siddha. So everybody gets a space to do that. And so I hope that all has been taken in, because it's coming from my being, because we're in the siddha right now. So I want to express it out of my awakening in a very clear way. And thank you, Melissa, tonight for kind of being the belly tonight, and just kind of, I feel like you how to say it. You kind of are really holding the space in a nice way tonight, Melissa. I feel you understand what this space is about, and I'm really appreciating the way you're expressing it. So thank you. I feel like you got the back here, and it tells me that you know what this space is about, and you wish for it to be supported as it is, and so I appreciate that. And so what I'd like to do tonight to end it, since we've had various people from hang on, Patricia, hang on. Okay, this isn't that moment, please. But it will be, because I'm not done, and I'm really into saying something important right now. But so we're going to close the space, and then whatever we want to do after that, because that's where we're at. But we've had Amir close the space one night, Melissa close the space one night, and Jamin close the space one night. So I'd like to invite Benjamin, if he feels comfortable, well, you should try it. But like you've heard them, I think you've been at least at one or another where it wasn't me who closed the space, but it was one of the girls or Jamin who closed it, and everyone just kind of it's really nice. It kind of took all the shadow, the gift, and the siddha, and just sort of created a crescendo. I won't preempt it too much, but would you like to close the space tonight and take the place of honor and this evening?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I actually haven't been at a meeting where someone other than you has closed it, so I'll try my best. Well, I've felt an underlying theme here tonight of no matter the shadow, we're all here together as a community to support one another and to create a safe space for us all, and to figure out, how to do it in a way that works for us all. And it is inspiring to me, this group of people willing to come together like this and be so vulnerable and share in a way that is uncommon to me out in my reality. So I really appreciate you all, and yeah.